anyone ever been hiking and came across a cairn or a pile of rocks piled up and wondered what that may be? Well, I'll tell you what it is right now. It's a really interesting story, and it goes all the way back to Greek gods. Yes, Greek gods. So there was a Greek goddess named Hera, and Hera became very, very angry at the Greek god Hermes. And Hermes at the time, he was a newborn baby, but gods, when they were born, they would grow very fast, and they were able to do things that we couldn't do as babies. So what happened is Hermes, and this is an old story, an old Greek story. So what happened was Hermes stole Hera's 100-eyed servant. So Hera had this big 100-eyed servant that she loved dearly, and Hermes stole it. He crept out of his crib one night and he stole the servant, and he killed the servant. So Hera was very mad at Hermes for killing her servant. So she decided to send him up to top of Mount Olympus, and the gods would judge Hermes for his actions. So what they decided to do was, if people thought Hera was correct and that Hermes was in fact guilty, what they would do is throw pebbles at the feet of Hera. If they believed what Hermes had to say and believed Hermes' story, they would throw the pebbles at Hermes. Now, since Hermes was such a smooth talker, he is known as the god of merchancy. He is known as the god of magic. So he was a smooth talker, and he had all the gods laughing. They were in stitches. They were dying laughing so hard that they started to throw all their pebbles at Hermes. So many pebbles, in fact, that they started piling up at his feet until all of a sudden Hermes was buried inside of these pebbles. And that's where that comes from. It is believed that when you see those cairns, those piles of rocks on trails or on paths or wherever, that Hermes is inside of those rocks, and he is helping travelers find their way with his wisdom. And that is what a cairn actually is, what those piles are, and what they mean, what they meant to the Greeks in the Greek myths. Now, Hermes was a trickster and a magician, and there's so many stories about Hermes and about these gods. I'll share another cool story with you. So when Hermes was a baby, he was born, and his mother lived in a cave, and his mother was basically like, Hermes was kind of like, you would say, a bastard child of Zeus. He was one of Zeus's many children from other women, other god women, goddesses. Now, Hermes, he was a little baby, and he was in his crib, and his mother was sleeping. And Hermes decided to sneak out of his crib and sneak out of the cave that him and his mother were living in, and crawled down from the cave, and he went over to Apollo's field where Apollo kept all of his cows. He was the god of music and the god of many things. He was the god of music, and he loved animals. He loved cows, especially. So Hermes decided he was going to steal his brother's cows, but he didn't want Apollo to know what he did with the cows. So he tied branches to the cows' tails, and he wrapped bark around the cows' feet so they looked like something else. And he also tied branches around his own feet so that it looked like something else was dragging the animals away. And he made it look, he made it all disturbed, the ground, with all the branches tied to everything, so they couldn't detect, Apollo couldn't detect where his cows went. So Apollo looked around and was getting mad because he couldn't find his cows. So Apollo ended up going to an oracle to be told where his cows were, because he was just so mad. So the oracle told him that your brother Hermes, your baby brother, stole your cows. So Apollo stormed over to the cave that Hermes was sleeping in, and he said to Hermes, "You stole my cows, brother, and I want my cows back." And Hermes said, "Brother, how could I steal your cows? I'm nothing but a baby. I don't even know what a cow is. I'm a little baby." And he said, "I know you're full of it. You're a liar, and you stole my cows." So what happened was Apollo grabbed Hermes and brought him up to Mount Olympus to see their father Zeus. And Zeus he was proud of both of them. He loved both of his children, and he thought it was funny. So he was laughing about it, and it was, being hidden in his beard, and he was laughing, and Apollo was getting mad. So Zeus said, "Listen, Hermes, you have to give Apollo back his cows. It wasn't right for you to steal his cows." So Hermes says, okay. So him and Apollo sit down, and Hermes had made with the cows. So he had sacrificed 2 of the cows. Out of the 100 cows that he stole, he sacrificed 2 of them for the gods on Mount Olympus, himself included. And he took the entrails out of the cow, and he made an instrument, this giant instrument with it. And it was a beautiful sounding instrument. And he would pluck it, and it would play, and it sounded beautiful. So when Apollo was telling him he wants his cows back, he said, all right. He gave him his 98 cows back. And Apollo counted them and realized there were 2 missing and got really angry. It's like, Hermes, you stole my cows. Where are my other 2 cows? And Hermes, he knew this was happening. He knew this was going to come. So he took that instrument out and he started playing it, knowing that Apollo was the god of music and would want the instrument. So when he's playing the instrument, Apollo looked over and was mesmerized and said, you know what, brother? How about I give you the 98 cows, you can keep them, just give me that instrument. But Hermes, because he was wise and he was smart and he was magic and he knew what's up. Hermes also was known to guide you to the underworld when you were dying. That was another thing Hermes would do. So Hermes had a lot of magical ability. And Hermes told Apollo, listen, if you want the instrument, I'll take the cows, but I also want your magic wand. And Apollo couldn't resist because he loved the instrument. So Hermes ended up winning out. And he got the magic wand. He got everything he wanted. Zeus was so pleased that he gave him a winged hat and winged feet and a cape to hide his magic tricks under. Hermes is holding in his hand a caduceus. That's that stick with the snake coiled up it. And that symbolizes the lower portion of the rod is the lowest vibration, lowest frequency, lowest realm, lowest chakra. It's the lowest level. It is the material realm. As you climb up the pole, as the snake spirals up the pole, he ascends to the heavens. It is a representation of ascending, becoming enlightened, becoming a higher-minded individual. And that is also what Hermes represents. And Hermes was known to help guide you into the underworld because he had the wisdom of all of this. Hermes would actually, when you were dying, he would guide you to the underworld, and that would be, he'd take you on a river, the river Styx, and he'd guide you through the underworld. The underworld was ruled by the god Hades, and he was a horrible, evil god, and he took a princess as a prisoner, basically, as his wife, and that was Persephone, the daughter of Demeter, the goddess of the harvest. Okay, and that's a really fascinating story, which I'll get into next time. If you enjoy these types of videos and this type of content, follow me on my page here. You can check me out on my website, withthesun33.com. I get removed a lot because I talk about things that they don't want people to know about, honestly, and this might not be one of those things, but I love these stories because the more you learn about Greek myth, the more you realize that the celebrities, the elites, the show that we're seeing all over the place, politics, all of it, it's a show, it's theater. And they're playing out old stories, literally, old Greek myths. So when you learn the myths, it unlocks a lot of things. I love you all. Remember, this is for entertainment.